The next Volvo Ocean Race will be the longest in its history. A 37,000-mile test of body and soul. 9 months, 8 boats, and the 7 seas. From which one winner will emerge. The Volvo Ocean Race starts from Alicante in Spain, the first of 11 ports to host the fleet on its new extended route around the world. From Alicante, the boats charge into the Atlantic Ocean on the long dive south to Cape Town at the end of leg 1. The fleet then heads east from the Cape of Good Hope bound for Cochin in India. The warm waters of Singapore host the fleet for Christmas before the hard sail north through the Siberian winter to Qingdao. Leg 5 is a sailing marathon, 12,500 miles through the Pacific Ocean, around the iconic Cape Horn and up to the welcoming climes of Rio de Janeiro. The Northern Hemisphere then beckons again to take the fleet to Boston. After that is a high-speed transatlantic dash to Galway in Ireland. Next is a pit stop in Marstrand, followed by a stopover in Stockholm, and on to the grand finale itself in the stunning city of St. Petersburg. It's the longest route the race has ever seen, and the toughest.
First of our skippers, Andreas Hanneken, the skipper of Team Russia.
Leading the fleet in this year's race are some of the finest all-round sailors in the event's history.
Next will be Ger O'Rourke, the skipper of Delta Lloyd.
4 are Olympic medalists, 6 are multiple world champions, 3 have contested the America's Cup, but Andreas Hanneken and Ger O'Rourke are newcomers, and they've met before. When Team Russia collided with Delta Lloyd in the Alicante import race, Ger O'Rourke's last-minute entry looked in danger of missing the leg 1 start line, but the Dutch-Irish boat is back on track. Skippering the first of the Ericsson boats is another newcomer, Anders Luanda, leading an inexperienced all-Nordic crew. East meets West in the Green Dragon campaign, headed up by double Olympic silver medalist Ian Walker. Pre-race favourite is Ericsson 4, led by the great Torben Grail, 5 times an Olympic medalist. Loud and proud, Puma will pose a big threat, not least with America's Cup veteran Ken Reed at the helm. Telefonica Black is one of 2 Telefonica boats. Local hero Fernando Echevarries with an all-Spanish-speaking crew. And completing the lineup and competing in his 6th round-the-world race, legend Bauer Becking, leading Telefonica Blue. Of the 80 competitive sailors contesting the first leg to Cape Town, roughly half are newcomers to the race. But for the veterans, saying goodbye to loved ones is no easier.
Bon.
A farewell from the King of Spain for Ericsson's Crown Prince. The start of the 2008 Volvo Ocean Race is just a few hours away. Ahead, the 6,500 nautical mile charge to Cape Town.
Superb conditions here in Alicante for the start of the offshore leg to Cape Town in the Volvo Ocean Race.
How much to go?
20 to 25 knots of breeze, and this gives the crews a real taster for what's to come. Seconds to go to the start, and this is where the crews make their final approach to the line.
50, 60, 50, 40, 30, 12.
Green Dragon ducking the fleet. On board with Ericsson, and that is the gun, full concentration. Telefonica Blue, Puma and Ericsson all getting great starts. Green Dragon and Delta Lloyd both forced out to this right-hand side. Not such a good start from Green Dragon as they're getting their winchmen to power up the sails. The grinders giving it heaps on the pumps as they pull those sails in to get maximum power.
15 seconds away to solid pressure. Building actually starting to build now.
At the windward mark, the battle for second place, it's Puma and Ericsson 3. Then the two Telefonica boats, black leading blue on the bearaway. Key moments here, getting the spinnaker up. Telefonica Blue first to the jump. Straight on board with Ericsson 4, who are leading the fleet around the top mark, muscling in that staysail, trying to get rid of it in preparation for the charge downwind.
Get out on port, shake the main out, and do them at the end, yeah? Hold on.
Back at the windward mark, Team Russia lead over Delta Lloyd and Green Dragon, who are fighting it out for 6th, 7th and 8th place. Green Dragon got their chute up, and look at the power on that machine. The breeze up to 25 knots plus for the charge through the Bay of Alicante. All the boats going downwind towards the leeward mark. Ericsson negotiating a tricky first jibe. Ericsson 4 complete the jibe, safe and sound round the bottom mark. And Kenny Reed driving that huge Puma boat like it's stolen. Next stop, it's Cape Town.
This is what it's all about, right? Let's get out of that harbour.
We're doing the Volvo Ocean Race. Here we go. We're leaving Alicante. We got a ton of breeze, doing 25 knots of boat speed and 20 knots of wind. So we're actually sailing faster than the wind right now. Let's go east.
With the race just a few hours old, Puma cuts the corner on Ericsson 4 and surges into the lead. Hurtling downwind, Ken Reed's boat and the rest of the fleet are heading directly for the Straits of Gibraltar. The crew of Il Mostro, the monster, and their outfits are strangers to volume control. But beneath the swagger and poise, it's hard work and commitment that form the core of the campaign.
It's the Volvo still. You can make us look good, but it doesn't change the game. The Puma attitude is really good. It's been a lot of fun to be involved with that aspect, but the Volvo at the end of the day is hard work. You can look as flashy as you want, but you still have to work hard.
Kirby personifies Puma's challenge: tough, experienced, competitive.
We want to win every leg. That's where our head is at. We want to win every leg, and we know that's unrealistic. The fleet is just too good. You know, and there are two superpowers. You know, there are two boat programs, big budget, that have been at it for a long time, and you know, those guys will be the front runners.
The men on Il Mostro are well backed and well drilled. If their opponents foul up, Puma will pounce. Ken Reed's crew are making tracks, but Ericsson 4 are hard on their heels. For the pre-race favourites, failure of any kind is not an option.
Some of you might remember that last time we didn't do that well. This is hard for a leading company like Ericsson to accept.
After their humiliating 5th place in the last race, Ericsson immediately signed up the winning boat's designer, Juan Cumijan, launching a big-budget, two-boat campaign, the envy of their rivals. Ericsson 3, crewed by Anders Luander's Nordic team, was the first new-generation Volvo Open 70 to hit the water, a mere test platform for the boat that followed. When the learning curve slackened, Ericsson 4 was produced to be skippered by legendary Brazilian sailor Torben Grael, his growing crew list studded with previous race winners. Massive investment in talent and technology mean Ericsson cannot afford to fail. Well-equipped and ruthless, they look bulletproof. For Luander's team on Ericsson 3, meanwhile, the race looks like it might have ended before it began. When the rest of the fleet received their rule compliance certificates in Alicante, Ericsson 3 did not. At issue were a small number of illegal cavities in its keel fin, but the penalties imposed for non-compliance were swift and harsh.
ERT shall be penalised by the deduction of 1 point at the conclusion of any day in which there has been one or more court races, by 1 point at each scoring waypoint, and by 2 points at the conclusion of each leg.
Until the keel can be replaced in Cape Town, the penalties will remain in force. Ericsson's response ranged from the indignant to the impassioned.
It is not the America's Cup. There is a spirit in the Volvo Ocean Race which has to be adhered to, and the Nordic team is here to become a part of that and become the future of the race.
We thought we had made it perfectly clear that we used the best endeavours possible to comply with the rules.
When we replace our fin, we'll be better off than we are today in terms of sailing, so the whole thing seems mad that we're getting penalised on a point system.
When the chips were down and we were standing around the boat at a meeting in Limerick, which isn't that very long ago now, Ger came in and he basically said, listen lads, I know I can make this happen. I might not be able to make it happen in the next week, but I will make it happen in the next 3 weeks. That belief and determination is the reason why all of us are here today.
Under-resourced and overworked, Ger O'Rourke's Delta Lloyd team is unlikely to challenge the likes of Ericsson anytime soon.
There's 3 or 4 guys fighting for final position in maybe 1, maybe 2 positions, and we'll call it today.
Crew selection, like much else in the Dutch-Irish campaign, was not finalised until 2 days before the import race. O'Rourke's boat is the much-modified ABN AMRO 1, runaway winner of the 05-06 event. It was race day morning before it received its compliance certificate, but the Team Russia collision left it being hauled out for repair just a few hours later.
My first impression was that after the collision was, oh God, there goes the offshore, you know. They've apologised, we've shaken hands and we're buddies again. They're good guys really, they just made a mistake. And we all make mistakes.
Back on the water, as the pace slows on the approach to Gibraltar, the Ericsson boats move to the head of the fleet. European waters will soon be behind them, the North African coast and the Atlantic ahead. On Telefonica Blue, Bauer Becking is all too aware of the challenges that lie in front of him. A veteran of 5 previous races, the Dutchman's story is one of courage and dogged determination.
You might have to release the pressure a little bit in the raft, guys.
When he and his crew were forced to abandon the ill-fated Movistar mid-Atlantic, her keel compromised and a storm approaching, Becking's 05-06 campaign looked like being his last. Movistar was never recovered, but somehow Becking's self-belief remained intact.
It's just good to go through where we actually made a mistake yesterday.
2 years on, the Dutchman is back as the skipper of Telefonica Blue and overall sporting director of the 2-boat Telefonica Syndicate, expected to give Ericsson the best run for their money.
All right. ¿Qué pasa, tíos? Yeah, it's definitely unfinished business. Like, of course, last race we didn't make the finish, and that's just a horrible feeling. And looking at the crystal ball, there would have been a big chance to end up on the podium. And this time we've done way more homework on the design, and we've got a great team. So, yeah, hopefully we can finish the business this time.
After 2 wins out of 2 in the Alicante import races, Telefonica's faith in Bauer Becking looks well placed. To be leaving their home port first and second overall is a dream start for the Spanish boats. But there's news from the Blue Boat. Less a dream than a nightmare. Becking's opening night curse looks to have struck yet again. At the front of the pack, it's Torben Grail's Ericsson 4 that leads the fleet through the Straits of Gibraltar.
If we take, we're gonna be going 100 to the right. How does that look?
This is the exit out of the Mediterranean and into the Atlantic Ocean. So we had a good night's sail last night, and as far as we know, we've come out about 20 or 30 miles ahead of the opposition, other than our teammates in E3 who are only a few hundred metres to leeward in the stern.
Chasing hard, Ken Reid and Puma working flat out trying to tame their monster of a boat.
The boats are, they're man-eaters. They take people and chew them up and spit them out. If you want to come sail one of these boats, you better bring your A game and a really strong mental state of mind. It'll break the average person.
Good news is we're going all right. We're just got to keep it on our feet and see what happens the next few hours. Get through this breeze.
blighted with steering issues since leaving Alicante. Telefonica Blue are struggling to keep up with the leaders. Bauer Becking was eventually forced to abandon his boat on leg 7 of his last campaign. Movistar having been seriously damaged on the very first night of the race. Can history be about to repeat itself?
Yesterday we had a pretty good start. We had a tight race together with Ericsson and Puma, and one of our tiller arm broke. It's one of the connections to the rudder. So we made a big wipe out, and basically we controlled the damage as such, but we had to stop sailing sailing fast for about 8-9 hours. We're now fully racing again. Pepper made a temporary repair, but it looks like we're going to make a stop in Gibraltar and we're going to exchange the piece of food.
Just tell us what you're up to. What's happening?
We're going to go home and get a good night's sleep, and then come back in the morning, and hopefully our boat will be fixed, and yeah, we'll be ready to go. And if we're all right with the weather, then the boats wouldn't have got too far last night, and we'll be right back in the game with a more indestructible boat.
Nah, it's nothing major, just a bit of a problem with the tiller arm. So we're going to change both tiller arms on both rudders and should be good to go.
Dawn, and the 12-hour penalty period is almost up.
Okay guys, back in the game.
Becking's men are now playing catch-up, knowing that those ahead have failed to make significant gains. For Puma, it's more about clean-up than catch-up.
We're trying to remove our little oil slick. Yeah, this is all part of keeping the world beautiful. We're just going to remove the oil slick off our canard. From where it was down on the way through Gibraltar.
There was actually sailed through an oil slick before.
Some of your more thick crude oil. I'm gonna need a roll.
The fleet heads out of the Mediterranean towards the Canary Islands, the leading boat still closely bunched. At their head, Ericsson's senior statesmen confer on how best to preserve a slender lead.
It's a long way behind Puma, I'd say. He's not far off it now.
Back in 7th place, Team Russia has more immediate concerns. Water is flooding into the boat. Even the media crew member's kit bag has been shredded to help stem the flow.
Our keel ram boots have ripped. They ripped pretty much straight off the start.
Have you got one? Where's the ripped one?
The ripped one is here. You can see we tried to repair it. Here's the other side. That's the other side.
Just ripped to shreds.
Unfortunately, you can't put a new one on without taking the keel pin out. So we're having to make one that folds round. We've already made about 4 so far in the last 24 hours, with varying degrees of success. But we're infused with our latest idea.
So the guys are trying to put a sock around the ram because there is ingress of water coming from this chamber in to the bilges to port and starboard.
Problems mounting down below, and their spinnaker also in tatters. For Andreas Hannekamp's men on Team Russia, another reminder of just why this race is still regarded as life at the extreme.